It took you 2 years to get to the million level and then so much shorter to actually scale it to 5 million. Can you actually walk us through the first 2 years of e-commerce?
So it's kind of like a general store, but it's for, I guess, niche down audience.
For 450K in revenue, right? In a single month?
Yeah, end of 22, that was the first 400K month.
What's good, everybody? I'm extremely happy to have Miika here on our channel today. He's an old student of mine and I helped him scale his store back in 2022, but he's built his brand to very large numbers and he's gonna share very interesting things with us today, so make sure you stick till the end. So welcome Miika to the channel. Can you please briefly introduce yourself and tell us how you started your journey and how it's going right now?
Thanks, Blasi. It's great to be here. Yeah, my name is Miika. I'm 28 years old from Finland, and I started my e-commerce journey in 2020. It really took off in 2022, and that was the first time I did a million a year revenue, and last year ended up at 5 million. So things are scaling quite well, and we will see what we can make happen this year.
So it took you 2 years to get to the million level and then so much shorter to actually scale it to 5 million. Can you actually walk us through the first 2 years of e-commerce? Did you have a job? What was the process of, going full time into e-commerce? And how did you go through the whole thing of trying different things and not really working? And what was the thing that really unlocked the big scale for you?
Yeah, I'm an economics student, or I was back when I started, and I was getting my first real job in commercial real estate, and I just wasn't feeling it. I knew that the corporate career wasn't for me, and I started looking for different options to get into entrepreneurship and get into making money with some skills that I thought I had as assets. So then I stumbled upon this whole e-commerce thing on YouTube, started researching it, heard one of my friends tried it, and basically I ended up starting a sunglasses brand as the first step. Just wanted to see how the model works, and of course, with cyclical products like that, I ran out of time. Summer was over. I sold like 5 pairs. Decided it's time to do something else. And then I realized it makes sense to have a lot more flexible model where I can test a lot more products and have flexibility around the store and the niche and everything. So from there, it was just like over a year of part-time, little bit struggling, learning things, testing ads, launching different products, buying a couple courses. Didn't really know what I was doing, but from somewhere there, it just I guess the skills just slowly start developing, and something eventually something will work, even though it might work really like on a low level. When you see those profitable sales, you know that there's something you can go deeper into.
And how many products did you actually have to test out before finding the big winner?
That's a tough question because there's been many different testing strategies, and I still test with different strategies up to this day. And there's, of course, like I can test a fully new concept and make a store for it, make everything super nice before launching, and that takes a lot of time. But there was a point where I just kind of made very low effort tests with high volume. So I would say maybe tens of products. It wasn't, I don't think it was over 100, but like I would say 20 to 60 maybe before making profitable revenue.
So in 2022, you had the big breakthrough. What is like the main thing that you changed in your strategy to get to that level, both in terms of testing and in terms of scaling a product? Because you already had some products that you scaled to some numbers, right? So what is the main difference that you made?
Yeah, so the main difference maybe what happened in 2022 is just I focused more on the niche. I focused just doing the one thing, and suddenly, when you put in a lot of reps, sometimes you get lucky. And it all
Mm.
started back in the summer of 2021. I had my first profitable sales. I had a product that maybe sold like um, not even a 1K a day, like a couple hundred a day, but I could run it with like profitable ad spend and make just a little bit of money to kind of get that motivation to go forward, and also kind of just go deeper into it and analyze what's working, what's not. There, I could find the niche, I could focus more on it, and then just learning more from it and testing products that I would know that, or I would have a good guess that that could work well in that specific with that specific group of customers.
Yeah, and you've been crushing it in that niche since then, right?
Yeah.
Um, like you mentioned that last year you made like $5 million in revenue. Is that with the same store in the same niche or?
This is actually two stores. It's that specific niche is very niche down, and it's also quite quiet during the summer months. So last summer I thought it's a good to also add a more broader niche to the mix and have another store inside the business, and yeah, basically starting with the same strategy, or even maybe a little bit like a more broader approach, like having a general store and just having everything open until something is found. That seems to be like still like a good way to start. Now I have two stores, both are roughly the same size.
Yeah, but you mentioned the general store, and what most people think when they hear a general store, especially with, all the teachings on YouTube and stuff like that, is that they think that it's some scammy store with a, I don't know, gadgets shop or grab those deals type of name, but it's actually something different, right? So how do you structure your general stores for testing? Because I've looked at your stores and they actually look much better and much more branded compared to a lot of those niche and one product stores that I'm seeing all day long. So it's quite interesting to actually dive deep into that and actually tell us how you're structuring the store, how you're doing the branding, and how you're pretty much positioning every single product that you test on the marketplace.
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies to go with, and there's a lot of different, like, I guess, like schools of thought in this ecom space. But the reality is like there's a lot of stores that look really ugly and they make a lot of money, and there's also like a lot of like really cool general stores out there, like really branded ones. But when you start to look into it, there's like a general group of people that is targeting, like a demographic, but the product selection is quite wide. So it's kind of like a general store, but it's for later down that's branded for a very, I guess, niche down audience. Not too much, so it's still broad, but yeah, it's all possible. It's a flexible model. If something happens, you can always easily add new products to it, and I guess down the line, it's eventual that you'll realize that something just works way better than all the others, and you kind of move into that direction automatically and make it a more branded approach around that.
And now here comes the big question. Do you think it's more so winning marketing, or it's more so a winning product that really moves the needle? Because I think, especially with the guys who are crushing it already and have done some numbers, they have very strong opinions on winning products versus winning marketing and winning funnels and stuff like that. So what's your take on that? Do you think the product is still the biggest leverage that you can have when doing drop shipping, or it's the whole package and how you position it?
I think the product is the biggest leverage in a sense, but that question is more like a skill level question. So when you're a
Mm.
beginner and you don't really know what you're doing, so the only chance to make it is to kind of get lucky in a sense. There might be some skill involved, but there's a huge amount of luck when you're not that skilled at the subject. So testing a lot of volume and testing a lot of different products might get lucky, but as you go on, as you run the business, as you learn more about marketing and stuff like that, it definitely the luck part of the equation goes smaller, and you can basically look it more like as I know that this product is good and I can probably make it work at least in some degree if I just try hard enough.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I thought about it and I realized I had five failed stores before actually having a store that really converts well, has a good product, has a good offer, and I also did do good creatives for.
Yeah.
And compared to, let's say, doing an agency or something where we have to have at least one, like only one core skill that really delivers the result for a client. When it comes to e-commerce, you just have all those different skills that have to be aligned, and they have to click, and they have to be at a sufficient level in order to grow the business, right? So what was the what is the biggest skill for you? What do you think is your competitive advantage against other dropshippers? And how long did this skill take you to build?
Yeah, I don't think I really compete that much with other dropshippers in a sense. Of course, they're competition as well, but I try to differentiate as quickly as I can.
Hmm.
Like acquired along the way, we can basically detect good products or
Hmm.
have a good guess that some product could work well, and we can make it fairly look better than everyone else, basically look
Hmm.
like the real version and look make it look like the others are cheap copies.
Yeah, so branding, you would say, is like the highest leverage thing that one can learn in the long run to kind of get away from the red market of drop shippers and go into a blue ocean of actually branded stores that actually have enterprise value, right? But it's a very abstract thing. And if you were to break down branding and the skill of branding products, what do you think are the most like important sub skills to learn in order to master this whole macro skill?
Yeah, it's also about the process. So how easily can you make it? If you make a lot of new product tests, how easily can you get that branded feel to it? So basically, testing the product initially, having good photos. That might be something you do entirely with Photoshop or some AI generation. Then maybe having a photographer or a setup at home, you can easily get even better stuff of the samples and um, just high quality creatives. Honestly, like and the research. So a lot of people don't do the research. A lot of people don't wanna like spend time doing the creatives well or anything like that. But it can really make or break a product.
So whenever you're testing a new brand, what is the research process looking like? Is it competitors that you're primarily watching? Is it reviews that you're going through? Do you use AI in helping you do that?
So I guess my main brand has it might have a little bit of a name and authority in the niche already. So if people see like a product being promoted on Instagram or Facebook, and there's a lot of these like videos that come from they might be Chinese factories or video creators. I'm not really sure
Mhm.
where the original videos for these products usually came from, but if they kind of see the product and this my brand has more trust than these other random sellers. If I launch the same product, it's probably going to work a little bit better, and also, yeah, make it a little bit
Absolutely, and
better because we know what the customers are looking for, and usually the base product doesn't have those qualities, so we can easily upgrade it just a little bit, so it's like it fits into the demand a lot better.
Yeah, I've detected it with our own brand, you know, because I was looking around and actually there was quite a lot of YouTube reviews for the product with quite a lot of views, and they were not even like paid reviews from us to send the product to an influencer. It was actually customers just reviewing the product. And also when I looked on Amazon, we are not on Amazon yet. We're working on that, but I looked it up and we had a related search term with our specific product name. So one of the things that really differentiated us from the competitors is using unique naming for the product. Um, Obviously, visuals are a big thing, right? But also how you name the product, how you talk about the product in your marketing, and that pretty much goes all the way. Like not only on the website, it's also about it's also about the creatives, it's about your ad copies, it's actually having a congruent brand message throughout the whole funnel, right? So when we looked on Amazon, we had a related search term for our specific product name, and we named it quite uniquely compared to the rest of the guys. So I think that's a very good litmus test to see whether you actually have a strong brand presence. But at least in my opinion, the biggest ingredient is time, right? And you've been selling the not the same product, but like the same set of products in the same niche
Mm.
for several years already, because it's almost the middle of 2024 and you're still running it. So, what is your opinion on time in the whole equation?
Yes, of course. Like it's an experience, it's a skill as well. Of course, you learn, you kind of live the niche yourself as well, and you learn more about it, so it gets easier over time. And one thing about the product selection as well, I don't never go into like real red ocean from the start. It usually only follows after scaling. So it's very difficult to kind of teach to anyone else, but it's pretty much gut feeling. I see something cool and decide to test it, and all the big winners are usually on first to market.
So you're looking for a big potential trend that is gonna come up in the following months,
Yes.
and you're the first, probably not the first guy to sell it, right? But the first serious person to sell it and
Yeah.
position it as a brand, right?
Probably not the first guy to sell the like this product category or similar items. But the
Mhm.
big thing here is that the people who we are targeting already know the market. You have to realize that they have been seeing the ads for like years, possibly. And if there's a good offer in place and it's very easy to buy, it's very straightforward, that can make a big difference.
What niches are you primarily focusing on right now?
Yeah, so men's accessories, watch accessories, and recently in the clothing a little bit as well.
So, do you plan on just expanding more into those niches
Yeah.
vertically, or you want to build a portfolio of different brands in different niches from now on?
Yeah, I think it makes sense to just go basically expand into these niches and just go deeper, get more of the total addressable market reached.
Hmm.
And yeah, the only reason I really expanded to clothing is because that's super broad. I thought I was like might have been limited with my skill set on the more niche down product categories, but clothing can scale super high. So it's really interesting to see both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you just spend 2, 3, 5 years selling into very big industries in very big markets, like it's not a coincidence that you have great success because you know the customer so well, you know all the pain points or what they like and what they enjoy doing, and what they're passionate about. And once you like understand very very deeply, and it's not just about reading another Amazon review, right? It's not about reading a Quora forum or something like that. It's actually selling consistently in the same niche, getting feedback from customers, right? And yeah, and it like if you think about it, it's crazy how much you can scale a single product in a single even sub niche, especially in the US, because a lot of people are, this niche is small, I cannot scale a product to great numbers, but like I scaled a product to $7.5 million in sales with a movie franchise niche, which is very very like limited in most people's eyes. So I think people just underestimate the size of the market and, you know, how much scale you can achieve just from selling for quite a lot of time in a specific niche, right?
Yeah, and also like how much of that small sub niche market can you actually capture, and that's the difficult part. That's a skill issue, and that comes with experience, and also like I gotta say I'm not there yet. Like I know there's a lot more to be done in that niche as well.
I mean, the guys who are just using this as an excuse to not crush it in a specific niche, I think it's more about the lack of skill that they have, not that the niche is limited or is bad, right? Because at least in my opinion, like most of the sub niches, even the smaller ones in the US, can be scaled to seven figures per year. But now it's a different question what it takes to scale to eight figures per year. And you having done 5 million last year, I guess that's kind of the next milestone for you, right? So, what's your plan to hitting 10 million per year?
I have to scale the monthly revenue from current point still a little bit. It's not too far away, but yeah, I think it comes down more to people, more to relationships, who you place in the correct positions in your team, and so on. And also for me as the entrepreneur, just constantly expanding my skill set to do these kind of new levels that bigger brands do constantly. And yeah, the rest is a mystery because I haven't done it yet.
Yeah. And what's your team structure looking like? How many people do you have on your team right now?
Yeah, so I have a like a COO. So um, we work together a lot of the same on the same things, and of course we both have our like own responsibilities. But it's nice to work together with someone kind of more of a hands-on approach than just sitting by myself with a laptop at home. And then I have media buyers for all channels basically, and an assistant and some editors and customer service. But that's it.
Mhm. So it's still a pretty lean team, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think it could be even leaner. Like if we can switch to more in-house team, that would of course
Mhm.
make it a lot leaner.
Okay. So, in your opinion, what are the next hire that you have to do to help you reach the 1 million a month level?
That's a good question. I've had the media buying in mind. Other than that, it's really difficult to think like a real full-time position
Mhm.
that someone could take and actually make it valuable to hire someone full-time.
And how does your working schedule, how is your working schedule looking like right now? I mean, now that you have a big team of people doing a lot of the operations for you, you mentioned that you have a COO, and I guess you don't have to do that much work in the trenches right now, but it doesn't mean you don't have to do a lot of responsible work. So, how is your day structure right now? What are the main responsibilities and tasks that you're focusing on throughout your day?
Yeah, so it's a lot about just coordination, communication, and kind of leading the team. So I'm basically constantly working, but it's a lot of answering messages and answering questions and stuff like that. So it's not like constant work. And then I always try to keep a habit of scripting some ads. I've been doing static
Mhm.
ads, and kind of keeping a hands on the actual operation. So I've been doing a lot of CRO recently as well.
So I'm talking to a lot of people on different in different places and on sales calls as well, and they think they can somehow just outsource the marketing side of things. And you mentioned that you're still like involved in the scripting process and some of the, like some of the important marketing activities. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, it can get out of hand quickly if you don't know what's happening in your business. That can get difficult, and there's a risk that you don't know what's working or what's not working because you're not really doing it yourself. Of course, there has to be a balance to it as well. You can't do everything yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Back when I was just starting out and having like the first success with e-commerce, I thought that it's a very good idea to just find a product and hand it out to a creative agency, then an ads agency, and then have an email marketing agency to do everything on the back end. And I thought, okay, they will actually do everything for me. I don't have to do anything. But that was far from the truth because, at least in my opinion, no agency, especially big ones, will be as dedicated as you are for your business. They won't have the ownership mentality. And at the end of the day, the most important thing is to know what good work is, right? And just my personal opinion, especially in e-commerce, which is a heavy marketing business, if you don't really understand your marketing as a founder, you're pretty much screwed because everyone can throw you around and throw sand in your eyes, thinking that and you think that they're doing good work, but actually you like the results and you're kind of in a black box, right?
Yes, yes, and you should always try to have a like the main idea of the direction and main idea of like what's working and what's not, so you can constantly review the work. You can constantly push the maybe the agencies or your team to get better, because if that's not done, no one's really getting better, and the
Mm.
competitors will most likely.
Yeah, absolutely. And how do you keep your employees motivated and then stay aligned with the vision and have like this intrinsic motivation to do the best they can for the business?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question, and that's where I'm currently also trying to figure out or find more experienced people that might have some good insights on it. But of course, I believe there's always a people want to feel that they're really good at what they're doing, and they want to have a platform to really make that happen. Um, and as a kind of an entrepreneur or a CEO, I gotta be present. I gotta lead from the front, so to say. So I can't just go on a holiday or something and just answer messages once a day. It kind of it just reflects everywhere, and I feel like people get the pace from the leader. And also
Mm.
one natural big motivation as well is of course like money. So people need to have incentives to, if they succeed, they will get paid.
Definitely the personal example also is what I've seen to be the biggest impact because you cannot expect your employees to be hardworking if you're chilling on a couch all day and not being attentive and not answering messages quick.
Mhm.
um, and I've had the same thing for me. And I think the biggest progression from being a successful store owner and successful dropshipper or brand owner or however you want to name it, to actually being a successful at business and leadership is just removing yourself out of the equation and really thinking, okay, it's not about me right now. It's about how do I motivate those people that are working for me to become their best, because your profit is going to stem from that and not from that much from the actions that you do. And that's like the biggest shift that I had in business, in my personal growth journey. Is like, instead of thinking of an opportunity that will make me a lot of money and give me all the wealth and all the riches, but thinking of an opportunity that will allow other people to actually get into that opportunity and fulfill their dreams so that I can fulfill other people's dreams through my business, right? Um, and it's actually quite hard to do it with e-commerce, especially with lower margins if you're selling a product with a low markup. And you have to be cost effective, right? Because in the end of the day, the business has to make profit. So what's your take on that?
Yeah, and of course always have to be a good example. But um yeah, on the margin side of things, yes, the margins will go down a bit as you scale and hire team. But on the other hand, that is an investment, and that's also good team members are also hard to find. So you might you might have to try a couple of times before finding the right ones. So it's kind of testing in the same sense as some of the other aspects in the business as well.
And what thing is the most like underappreciated aspect of running a brand when you're first starting out and first scaling up a business? Like, what advice would you give to somebody who's recently found a winner and is trying to scale it up, but could potentially make a drastic mistake?
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of things before the initial scaling. There's of course like the
Mhm.
over analysis phase that people just think too much and they find
Mhm.
refine everything before launching. But when they launch it, when they find a winner and start the sales start coming in like crazy, um, it usually comes down to the operations on the back, of course, and
Mhm.
customer service and relationship with the fulfillment and the factories. There's so many things that can go wrong, and it has been like that for me as well. But somehow, somehow, if you can just, you need to learn a lot of new skills, and if you can just keep that up throughout the way upward, the chances will get better that the scale will actually stay and not crash down back to zero.
I think from my personal experience, it's pretty much neglecting gross margin, because I was gaining on 50% gross margin. That if I just took a step back, contacted a lot of suppliers and found better terms, I might have scaled on like 10% more gross margins, and on $1 million of revenue, that's like 100K in additional profit without you having to sell an additional piece of product, right? Um, and one more thing is risk in business, right? And I think when people try to scale up, they have a winner. It's being very profitable. They tend to do risky decisions because they think it's gonna last forever, right? And obviously, with especially with crypto, what we're seeing right now, it had a very good run, but now everything is back. So, how do you think people, especially that are scaling right now, should mitigate risk? First thing, and second thing, do you think they should order inventory? Do you think they should order a lot of custom packaging? And do you think they should hire a lot of people from the get?
Yeah, I think the main issue with risk is, or how you can mitigate it, is to make more money and have more free cash flow. So there comes the margins. It's really important to have good margins and know your numbers. So there's not that risk that you just scale up and basically make negative margin by accident. That's the worst thing that can happen. But also with operations, try to keep everything high quality but as lean as possible. So inventory is a huge risk, of course, but it's also a risk of not having inventory because then you run out of all kinds of surprises. If you just keep drop shipping the products there's always stuff happening at the factory. There's a lot of other sellers in throughout the world that are selling the same products, and something can run out quickly. Something can happen in the factory, so you definitely need stock, but the warehouse management needs to be very lean for you to still have the cash flow to mitigate all other risks, because most of the business risk is solved with money. So if something happens, you can pay to get it fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at what stage do you think it's best to start ordering inventory? I think we spoke like a few weeks ago on that topic. So I'm wondering, do you have custom inventory already? Are you shipping from the States? What is your current shipping times? And what's your take on that? Yeah.
Yeah. So my take is a China 3PL because it's just so much lower risk and so much less money tied up in the inventory and so much less time to transport the goods from the factory to the warehouse. If something's wrong with the whole batch, it can be just quickly sent back and they can fix it. If you would order that overseas, that would be a huge mess. But yeah, when to start, it depends on the product. Some products have have kind of a riskier supply chain. They might run out quickly. You might just naturally run into the issue that you just need to order stock to basically fulfill the orders. Depends how fast you scale, depends how big the niche is. When you're getting some like tens of orders a day, stable orders, it's a good time to if you think you can scale it a lot higher, it's always good to just make the changes in advance, so you don't have to start panicking and making changes when things are already going south.
Yeah, I totally agree. Uh, it's just that we tend to underestimate risk, especially when we're hyped up about a winner. So it's really like taking the step back, sleeping over it, and actually assessing what it's gonna be in terms of cash flow, because profit is not that hard to make. It's actually cash flow that is hard to sustain, right? Um, and definitely had those situations. But as you said, like it's the most important thing is to sell freaking well, because we were selling freaking well. We didn't have custom packaging. We already crossed like seven figures in revenue, and we had nowhere as good of a customer experience compared to what we have right now. But we had all the proof that we were selling extremely well. And then one supplier reached out to us and gave us the best ever conditions. They stock the product for us in the US. We don't have to lock in any money. We're still paying for drop shipping. And we have the full custom brand experience, custom inserts, custom packaging, all that good stuff. So yeah, focus on the marketing. I think that's one of our takeaways from here, that you as an e-commerce business owner, your biggest leverage is being a good marketer and not a good like inventory manager, right? So what do you think is like the opportunity cost of switching a lot of your attention towards sourcing, towards making sure the packaging and the product is perfect? Do you think that's like a way too advanced thing to do, especially if you're still at seven-figure level and it's something for later? Or you think on that level people should already think about those like more serious stuff that can happen once the price goes?
Yeah, I think that comes with also how important it is. It's just a matter of what stage the business is at. So it's not that important in the beginning, but later on, if you have a, for example, or if you just want to focus on more on it, and you see the leverage later on at a higher level, you can hire a team to do all the other stuff and focus more on it, of course. But it gets more important the bigger you grow, in my opinion. And with products, if you have the first mover advantage, so you're the first to market, it starts scaling like crazy. The the odds are that the customers are so hyped about just the product itself. It doesn't really need like that much of extra, I don't know, branding or anything, like small improvements. Those small improvements become more important as all the Amazon sellers coming, all the drop shippers come into the niche, and then it comes more of a red ocean, and then you can separate yourself from the competition. But if there's no competition really in the beginning, you can just scale. You don't have to worry.
Yeah, that's massive. That's a very good piece of advice. So to close off the interview, I would like to ask you two more questions. First of all, you were a student back then in 2022. Can you share a word or two how we helped you scale your business? What that process was like? Was it good? Was it bad?
Yeah, so yeah, in all honesty, like I was all every week I was waiting for that Friday call. I always had some questions lined up, and I think you understood the business just really well, and you always gave like good advice on it. And also there was a couple things just like very product related or niche related or brand related that made a big difference.
So what, for example?
Yeah, so I was basically buying new stuff for the company and kind of focusing on the in-house content creation side of things, and and I was really like, I was hesitant of spending money on that, but you say just do it,
Mm,
and yeah, that's where really a lot of things took off.
mm.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I think like by the end of 2022, you did like 450K in revenue, right? In a single month.
yeah. End of 22, that was the first 400K month, and yeah, it's good stuff.
Crazy stuff, brother. Yeah, it's crazy how sustainable your business is right now, and at least in my opinion, it's just bulletproof. So yeah, guys, I mean, when you build things the right way, they can really last your lifetime. And right now, if you ask an investor, you know, for such a business, it will be multiple seven figures. But like, I guess you're not even thinking about it because you can milk it for another year, and have even higher valuations, right?
Yeah, yeah, of course, and just you always have to keep learning new stuff. Always have to keep iterating and making things better because otherwise the competition will catch up, and there will always be new ones because you're out there. People will see your brand. People will see that these guys are probably making a good amount of sales, and they try to get a slice of it. Um, but yeah, in terms of selling the business, of course, I think it's always a good idea to keep in mind and build it like so that you would sell it at some point, even though you wouldn't, even though you might have other plans. Um, but it also gets easier. Like the bigger you grow, the more EBITDA you make. Um, the market for selling the business gets a lot better. So big buyers are really looking for like bigger brands that are making good 7 figures of profit a year. So get to that level, of course, you probably need to have more than 10 million revenue a year as well.
So have you thought about selling the business at some point, or for now you just want to keep everything?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, you never know, like if a better opportunities come along, or you just want to do something else. Um, I really like this game at the moment, so I'm gonna just keep kind of playing it. But of course, it's always good to have as a backup.
Hmm.
And yeah.
Absolutely, man. Totally agree. And one last question that I got for you: if you were to start a business again, and imagine you were back in 2022, and found a winner, what would you do differently?
Hmm. Yeah. Um, it's really difficult to comment on that because I don't know the other kind of type of journeys that might happen if I did things differently. So in a sense, I can't say I did things pretty good, but there were some massive mistakes as well that could have been prevented by just um, better team management, or like better systems. I'd say not necessarily like managing the team, but just building better systems, minimizing different risks in different parts of the business, and just basically being a little bit more aggressive in taking that market share and getting things branded quicker. So
Mhm.
there was a lot of that. I always thought that okay, this might be just a winning product. It might just go up, and then the product life cycle comes and it goes back down, and then I had to find something new. That's like I always thought that's the most likely scenario to happen, but that's again like that's just down to your skills and how much you want to make it better. And if the product is getting higher demand every year, it's totally possible to make that a long term thing. But you really have to make moves and cover all channels, build your business.
Yeah, I think it's just contrary to what most people think, that you just have to diversify
Yeah,
and not put all of your eggs in one basket. But you are a living example. I'm a living example that you can scale a product to multiple seven figures without, the whole product or the margins dying out. And I think it's just like, if you put all the eggs in one basket, and make the basket with a very strong shield around it
Hmm.
and very good cushion, like no matter how much eggs you put in the basket, it's just gonna get stronger
Yeah.
and it's not gonna break the eggs, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of the thing that people don't understand, that if you just focus on this thing and actually put all of your attention into building it and making it bulletproof,
Hmm.
you pretty much eliminate a lot of the risk that somebody might come in and destroy you.
Yeah.
Because the reason why a lot of those businesses fail is because they're not well optimized. They have rooms for improvement, and another guy comes in. They're very focused. They're very skilled, and they completely rule you out on the market, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most difficult questions in business, because sometimes you actually might be in like a small level opportunity, and then you might have to
Mm.
pivot to get to that next level. But how do you know? That's the thing. That's the reason I currently have two stores, because I thought I might be in a small opportunity, but the more I learn, it might not be the case. But then again, it's also a question about what is the basket you're building. Is it a basket? Is it a company, a team that can manage a portfolio of brands, or is it one single brand?
Yeah, totally. But in the end of the day, I always look at it as if I'm the byproduct of everything. So, you know, you might be in a small vehicle, but you're the driver. So if you learn how to drive that vehicle fast, despite the lack of power, despite the lack of, good chassis or whatever, now when you hop onto a better vehicle, like a track car,
Mhm.
imagine what damage you can do on a marketplace, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually pretty good um, to 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 work on smaller leverage vehicles because it really forces you to take the most out of it. And then when you switch to something else, you just completely explode. Um,
Yeah.
but I think the hardest thing is not getting discouraged. If this vehicle is not that good and it like stops working at some point, I had this happen with my store when we were like in low seasons. It's a very seasonal store, so we have months where you're on break even negative profit. And at some point, I was like, okay, this is it. But we have to break through that, and at least in my opinion, just look at stuff as like you're just building out your skills, and then when you switch to a better thing, it just completely takes off.
Yeah, it's all about risk and reward. Of course, if you're all in on one thing, there's a higher risk of that whole vehicle breaking down, but there's also a higher risk on the upside. So if you just focus on that, um, there's a huge upside, and I think that's the way most of the billionaires in this world have made their fortunes. Um, and you can go down the scale, you can start diversifying, but you have to understand that it also decreases the upside. It might be everyone has different targets in life, and it might be sometimes a very wise thing to do, but it depends on a lot of things.
And what's your like 5 to 10 year vision for your business and for your portfolio of brands? um, have you thought about this? Do you think it's gonna stay in e-commerce, or you want to expand to other industries, or what's your big picture vision?
I think that e-commerce in general is a really good place to be in. So it's a constantly growing industry. For example, in Europe, in probably both in our countries, it's quite it's not that big yet. So there's
Mm.
definitely room to grow. There's definitely all kinds of things we can build. Um, inside the industry, and different tools for different businesses, or just huge brands in general. So um, yeah, I think it's a good place to be in. I don't have any plans of like getting into something else all of a sudden. um, yeah, just currently simply focusing on this one and growing it as big as I can.
Great stuff, brother. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for participating in the interview. I hope you guys also enjoyed it. As I said, Miika was one of my first students back in 2022, but I can't take any credit for his success because he's really putting in the effort every single day to become better as a brand owner and as a person in general. So thank you so much for sharing all those insights. And don't forget to comment if you like it, if you want us to cover any other topics, and make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.